Win now mode for the Orlando Magic has already begun. Why the Magic might be too top heavy in this new collective bargaining landscape today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 11th. It will be August 12th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, why we are talking championship. Like, not as a joke, not as an aspiration. Why it is important the Magic are competing for a championship now because their window is already open. We'll talk about that. Plus, why the Magic might be too top heavy. We'll talk about Tim Bontemps' article and some comments that he has made coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate all of our Orlando Magic dailies who listen to Locked On Magic every single episode, every single day, Monday through Friday during the season. We're in our summer mode right now, so we may not be Monday through Friday every day the rest of this month. But when something happens, we will be on here to talk about it here on Locked On Magic, all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The Orlando Magic have not been quiet about their aspirations. It's something we've talked about. It's something that has been on the tip of everybody's minds. I think it's fair to say the Magic are not quite a surefire championship contender yet. I think that is a fair thing to say. But Jeff Weltman has not hidden from what he wants this team to accomplish. Everyone has asked him, the Magic could be very competitive in the East, and Jeff will stop them. And, Jeff doesn't talk very much, but Jeff will stop them and say, no, we're not trying to be competitive in the East. We're not trying to win the East. We're trying to win the NBA. We're trying to win the championship. And while, yes, the Magic have not advanced out of the first round yet, they have not won a playoff series. There are questions, and we'll get to some of those here in a minute. The Magic are situated right now in a place where talking about winning a championship is not just idle talk. It is something necessary. It is something we have to discuss and have to consider and have to put as the end goal. From a just basic premise standpoint, this is the closest the Magic have been to a championship since Dwight Howard left in 2012. The Magic have Paolo Banchero, who is an all-star and expected to be an all-star and expected to be all-NBA, to be perfectly frank. They have Franz Wagner, who very well could have been an all-star last year, if not for his injury, and is expected to be an all-star this year. We talked about him and his Eurobasket exploits yesterday. We'll talk about him plenty as the rest of the summer continues. The Magic have two all-stars, and in Magic history, the only time they have had two all-stars have been when they've had title-ready teams, except for 2001 when Grant Hill played only 4 games and got voted in as an all-star. But even then, if Grant Hill were healthy, I think everyone would expect that Magic team with Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady to compete for the Eastern title. Would they have beaten the Lakers? Not with Andrew Clark as their starting center, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, the Magic have a roster that demands more expectation. Jamal Mosley said it very early in the offseason as well. Pressure is a privilege. This team has earned this discussion. This team has earned the right to be considered among this, to have a FanDuel over-under of 50.5 wins, to be considered the third best team in the East, to be considered a dark horse to win the Eastern Conference. But win now mode has not just begun because of the roster that they have. Again, they've earned this expectation, and they got to go out and prove it. Win now mode has begun because of the reality that we're in, because of the reality of the rules of the collective bargaining agreement. And I'm not going to make you bring out your calculators too much. I have my calculator out. I'll probably be doing some quick math here as well. As much as it isn't an immediate concern. Like, I don't think we should be freaking out about the Magic breaking this team apart. It's going to come. We can acknowledge it's going to happen, and we can acknowledge there are difficult decisions down the road. We've talked about some of them already over the summer. We know it's on the horizon. Right now, the goal is to make the most of the group that you have. Right now, the goal is to make the most of this opportunity because or at least the Magic feel like they have this crazy good opportunity. But to say the least, the Magic are paying the tax for the first time since 2012. It'll only be $5 million, so it'll be about $6 million in total, perhaps, of tax money. But next year, they're very expensive. Next year, when Paolo Banchero's extension kicks in, when Franz Wagner's in the second year of his extension, when Desmond Bane is in year 3 of his extension, when Jalen Suggs is in year 2 of his extension, the Magic are going to be very expensive. Orlando, and we don't want to think too much about that raw dollar amount, but it says a lot. The Magic get 4 $30 million players for the 2027 season. In all, in total, the Orlando Magic, and let me make sure I have my math correct here. In total, the Magic have a guaranteed payroll of $186 million for the 2027 season. That does not count expected team options that they would pick up, which would be, I believe Anthony Black still has a team option for next year. They'll pick that up, of course. It doesn't count Jonathan Isaac's team option. And that number's only if Paolo Banchero doesn't make All NBA. So I expect him to. If the Magic's accountants don't have Paolo making All NBA and getting 30% max, they're doing something wrong. The tax line next season is projected to come in at $200 million. So even taking Jonathan Isaac's contract puts them over that mark. And the first apron's at 209, the second apron's at 222. The Magic are expected to be a second apron team in 2027. If Paolo gets that extra $8-9 million, Jonathan Isaacs gets $14.5 million. That's probably going to be guaranteed because he's going to play enough games. The Magic are going to be paying this very, very large tax bill. And we've already seen what this tax does to a lot of teams. The Phoenix Suns put together a really talented group. Again, say what we want about the way they did it and the bets that they made. They put together a really talented group with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and then couldn't add anyone else to their roster. The Boston Celtics staring down the second apron bill. When I was in Boston for the playoffs, all the Celtics writers were telling me, this is our last run with this group. They're going to have to give up on Porzingis or Holiday. They expected to only give up on one, but the Jason Tatum injury kind of gave them permission to just this season's lost anyway. Let's just reset the deck now. Let's just reset everything now. We know who our core players are. We know the guys we want to invest in. We'll shuffle everything else out and get under the tax and deal with how to rebuild after that. So many teams are dealing with these decisions. And again, I'm not sitting here saying the Magic have to deal with them now. They don't have to jump the gun. Let this team play. Let's see how good this team is. But ultimately, this is why the Magic have to win now. If the Magic do not show signs that they are on a championship path, that the Magic are on the road to winning a title, then they're going to have to make some decisions. They're going to have to say, well, this experiment didn't work. Let's break apart some pieces to get better depth or to get the players that we need. And the fact of the matter is, when you are a second apron team, you cannot add anyone. It is extremely difficult to add anyone. When you look at the Magic playing in 2025 or 2025, 2026, this is the team. This is the group. You might be able to make some swaps here and there, but this is the team largely that's going to win the Magic a championship in the next 2 or 3 seasons. Because realistically, that's all you have in the current CBA. The Magic are not trading Paolo. The Magic are probably not trading Franz. Jalen Suggs is on a tradable contract. Desmond Bane, they're going to have to deal with his extension talks here in a minute. I don't think he's going to sign an extension. He's immediately eligible, but he'll be extension eligible here soon. The Magic are going to have to figure out, does this plan actually work? And if it doesn't, now that they've traded all their draft picks, they've got to decide how to move forward. None of that matters if you win. If you're a ownership group worth your salt, and the DeVos family isn't. This new DeVos family, I think, will be more than Rich was. If the Magic are winning, they will pay the tax. They will do what they have to do to keep winning. Again, you might have to take some steps back in the process there too. Boston certainly is a winning franchise. They want to win too. But win now mode has already begun. The Magic have to win this season. Because of the way they're constructed, winning matters immediately. And that's why so much pressure is already in the season. So I want to talk a little bit about why the Magic might be too top heavy and how the Magic have constructed their books and what that means down the line. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Have you ever wondered what your seat will actually look like, what your view from your seat will actually look like before you buy? The app has panoramic seat views, digital panoramic views of your seats, so you know exactly what the court, field, stage, whatever it is, looks like before you buy. And with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. There are no hidden fees. I know I was actually over at my mom's house this weekend. She is trying to get into baseball a little bit more. And I asked her, do you want to go to a Rays game? There's only so many Rays games left over at George Steinbrenner Field to just get a feel for what that stadium's like after we went to the Trop a few years ago. He immediately went on to Game Time and saw there are tickets very, very available in primo sections. I don't think there's a bad seat in that house for the Rays the rest of the season. So whenever we want to go, we can drive on down to Tampa and get tickets to the game. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So what kind of sparked all this is Tim Bontemps wrote an article. I believe he wrote this article for ESPN. If not, he spoke about it on the Hoop Collective a little bit. Wrote an article about how to build a winning team in the NBA right now. And look, there's a lot of criticisms of the new collective bargaining, what happened, what was given away by the players, what owners got out of the deal. We don't have a hard cap. At the end of the day, the owner's big goal is to one day get a hard cap so that they can all control their costs and keep player salaries down and just know exactly what they're spending on players. The players don't want that. They want to be paid a lot, but there is like the second apron stuff and all the penalties of being in the second apron. It's not a hard cap, but it's a stabbing cap. It's just like this constant thing poking you and eventually leads you to break things apart. Now, contracts are guaranteed in the NBA. That's not changing. We've seen some creative non-guarantees like the Jonathan Isaac deal, but there's this little constant source of pain for being too far over the cap. And that is essentially created this hard cap. I'm a big believer, with anything that the NBA is trying to do. I've been a big believer with this on the tanking stuff. It's about finding the point of pain. And right now, the NBA has created a system where owners who want to spend, they're not stopped from spending, but there comes a point of pain because now, I am so far over the cap. I'm in the second apron. I can't go out and get better players. And so now my team is kind of slowly hemorrhaging players because I can't afford them anymore. We're kind of taking on water a little bit. We're sinking, and I'm still paying a massive tax bill. So at a certain point, you just bail out. You just kind of start putting buckets and throwing things overboard to kind of keep the ship afloat. That's the system the NBA wants. You can debate whether it's a good system or not. And so the question now has become, how do you build a championship team in the system? The Oklahoma City Thunder aren't a good example because they ended up winning with a lot of rookie contracts. Rookie contracts are insanely valuable because they are cost controlled. You come into the league with a set salary amount, and if you can get a good roster, it was essential the Magic spent while Paolo and Franz were on their rookie contracts, because obviously, like, Paolo's jumping from 20, Paolo's salary is doubling. Franz's salary like nearly tripled between his last year and this upcoming season, this first year under his new contract. So you have to be, being able to be successful very early in a player's career is really vital. It's almost to the point where your title window is much earlier in a player's career. Like, Michael Jordan didn't win his first title until he's 6-7 years into the league. Now it's like, 4 or 5, it's a little bit earlier now. It's 4 or 5 years into the league. Now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's been around a little bit, 6-7 years. But boosted by Jalen Williams on a rookie contract. Chet Holmgren on a rookie contract. What's going to be interesting now is the Thunder, who've drafted so well and continue to supplement their roster. You can't pay everybody. Well, you technically can, but it becomes more costly. It's why I think this season is going to be a fascinating one for Anthony Black, because, I did an episode on this a few weeks ago. I wrote a little bit about this. Anthony Black is due an extension this summer. He's extension eligible this summer. And I love AB. AB's a great kid. I think he's got loads of talent. What do you pay him? Like today, if the Magic had to negotiate a contract with him today, what do you pay him? Nobody knows. And getting that wrong could cripple you because the Magic are so invested in their top players. There's a thought going around the league right now that the super team era is over. Having 3, 4, 5 players with massive contracts and killing your depth, that's not how you win. The Thunder, the Pacers were two of the deepest teams in the league. They could constantly shuffle guys in who could contribute and score, and were relatively cheap, easy to replace. The Celtics, not the strongest bench in terms of scoring, but Peyton Pritchard slides into that lineup really, really easily. Luke Kornet gave them some really good minutes. They were able to kind of spread their talent around a little bit. And, the Magic are following a little bit of that Boston method. They've got Paolo and Franz as their Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They gave Wendell Carter a big extension, not anywhere near as big as Kristaps Porzingis, but he's a big piece of this puzzle. Jalen Suggs is their Drew Holiday. Again, maybe not being paid as much of the cap, but very much the same. And Desmond Bane is their Derek White, their sharpshooter who's going to kind of even everybody out. The Magic and the Celtics have been a team that have been compared for a very, very long time. Stylistically, they're now able to be compared contractually too by their salaries and by the way that they were constructed, at least when the Celtics were competing for a championship over the last 2 years. The question is whether this method works. If you go on Spot Track, and again, I don't get hung up so much on the raw number, but in the 2027-26, the Magic are under the first apron. They're not in any cap problems here. In the 2027 season, the Magic have 4 players who are going to be paid $30 million or more. They have 3 players who can be paid $35 million or more. But the raw number isn't important, like I said. What's important is the percentage of the cap. Right now, you pencil Paolo Banchero in to be 25% of the cap. He's going to be 30%. You should pencil that in at 30. Jalen Suggs at $32.4 million in 2027 is 19% of the projected cap. Desmond Bane at 23.2% is projected to, at $39.4 million, is projected to be 23.2% of the cap. Franz Wagner at $41.8 million is projected to be 24.5% of the cap. So again, roughly half of your salary cap, again, the cap number, Magic are going to be over the cap. So that part doesn't matter as much. But again, roughly half of your salary cap is being committed to 2 players. And then another 42% is committed to 2 more players. The Orlando Magic, if I'm able to math correctly here, and let me just pull out a calculator and calculate this exact number. According to Spot Track, assuming Paolo is 25% of the cap, the Magic have committed 91.7% of their salary cap, to 4 players. That does not count Wendell Carter, who at $18.1 million is only 10.6% of the cap. I know people go crazy over that number. That is a bargain for a starting center. Again, like that is a bargain for a starting center to be that low. But the Magic are going to be and again, Jonathan Isaac, even at $14.5 million, is only 8.5% of the cap. Now, we don't know what I assume the Magic will pick up Tristan da Silva. These numbers start to add up, and they don't have to worry about a draft pick. And Tyus Jones, maybe the Magic keep him. They'll have early bird rights on him, so they'll be able to find a way to get him back if they want. At the end of the day, the Magic are just committing a lot of money and filling out the rest of their roster with quality players, with the kind of players who can help them win a championship, because now is the time to win a championship. That's going to be the challenge. So again, I don't think the Magic are in any mood or in any space to break this apart. They're not going to. They're going to see if it works. And if it works, the Magic will find a way to keep making it work, because they know how close they are to winning a championship. But, let's say a worst case scenario happens. Let's say the Magic are the 5 seed, the 6 seed. They lose in the first round as the 4 seed, as the 3 seed. They don't look as cogent as they thought. That might be the time to say, okay, we got to recoup some draft value and we got to break things apart before we get too expensive, because it's not worth it to be this expensive for a team that's not winning a championship. The reason we're talking about championships is because the Magic are paying their players like they're going to win a championship. You don't go into the second apron if you're not going to win a championship. You don't go into the first apron if you're not sure, if you don't think like we're a step away from winning a championship. That's where the Magic are right now. And that's why it is important to think about these things, if not act on them quite yet. The good news is that Magic made a really big addition, and NBA 2K agrees. We're going to talk about the surprising ranking in NBA 2K26 coming up here in just a moment. We are only a few weeks away. I believe we are 3 weeks away now from the release of NBA 2K26. If you got the additions that you can get early play on them, I believe that is 2 weeks from now that you can start playing NBA 2K26. If you're like me and got the standard edition with Shea on the cover, then we're 3 weeks away from the opening of the game. And look, I'm a gamer. You can check me. You can find me playing my team. I love the history guys. I love the historic players. And I generally it's a pretty diverse mode with enough single player mode, so I don't have to deal with other people who are playing a video game and not playing basketball. But that's me. That's a me thing. But we're kind of in the beginning of the hype mode for the season. Like the release of NBA 2K is very much kind of the unofficial start of the season. It's like Labor Day is typically when players start to return to their home markets, and 2K comes out around Labor Day. And so we're kind of officially turning toward the beginning of the season. We're going to get the schedule out here on Thursday. Very, very excited to get the schedule. Very excited to be able to plan my life for the next 6 months. So we're gonna start getting a lot of basketball information here. So NBA 2K is starting to get us hyped up for the season. Is beginning to release their kind of top 10 in each statistical category, in each kind of ratings category. We don't have they'll probably culminate with overall at the end of the season. Probably get dunks here pretty soon. Today on Monday, they released mid-range shots and three-point shot. Now, typically, we wouldn't pay attention to either of these things because the Magic aren't good shooters. Obviously, the Magic have some shooting struggles, and it's been the whole point of this offseason to figure out how do the Magic get better at shooting? How do the Magic do this? But smack dab in the middle of the top 10 3-point shooters in NBA 2K26 when you open the box or open the download, because nobody owns physical media anymore. Desmond Bane, number 4, 88 3-point shooting rating. Stephen Curry's a 99. Kevin Durant's an 81. Klay Thompson's still an 89. Desmond Bane, tied with Isaiah Joe of the Thunder, at 88. To say the least, a little bit shocking that Desmond Bane is considered a top 10 3-point shooter in the league. It's weird seeing that Magic logo associated with anything positive to do with 3-point shooting. But a little bit surprising because Desmond Bane is kind of coming off of a bad 3-point shooting season. He shot only 39.2% from 3 and shot only 6.1 3-point attempts per game last year, his lowest since his rookie year in Memphis. Now, some of that is he was on the ball a little bit more, had a little bit more on-ball responsibility, averaged 5.3 assists per game, which is something we're really excited about because Bane not only doesn't take away from the Magic's defensive identity, he's going to fight on defense. He may not be an amazing defender, but he'll fight on defense. That's all the Magic asks because their scheme is so good. But we like that he'll have a little playmaking. He's not just a standstill 3-point shooter. He's going to hunt for his 3-pointers. He's going to take a lot of spot up threes take a lot of pull up threes instead of spot up threes. But he'll also take threes at volume, which we really like too. Last year was not a good 3-point shooting season for Desmond Bane, yet the game is really high on him. And so as we begin to get player ratings, I think we're supposed to get player ratings beginning this week. So we'll probably get a top 100 list from 2K as well. I would expect 4 players, and we'll be doing our own top 100 list here on the Locked On Network here very, very soon. Our lists were due on Friday. As we begin to we'll get some of this information. To me, this says that they're expecting Desmond Bane to benefit greatly from being in this Magic offense, which is, again, a weird thing to say considering how bad the Magic shooting was last year, how bad the Magic's offense was last year. I think there's an expectation that with Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane's going to get a lot more higher quality 3-point shots. And even though he's not a heavy spot-up shooter, he is an efficient spot-up shooter, like 41, 42% from 3 on spot-ups. Again, like 36, 37% on pull-ups, which is insane too, which is a really high number. Desmond Bane's whole picture last year may have been down for him, but it is still among the elite players in this league. And that is like the big, big, big takeaway, is that the Orlando Magic have gotten one of the best shooters in the league. NBA 2K thinks the Magic will make one of the best shooters in the NBA even better. Well, very clearly, I think this says they believe the Magic are going to get a better shooting version of Desmond Bane than what they got last year. And considering how bad the Magic shooting was, to the point where it felt like Paolo taking a contested or double team mid-range shot was a lot better than passing to an open shooter, that changes everything. Like I said, today's theme is about winning now. Trading for Desmond Bane was a win-now move. It was they gave up all the draft picks, very clearly a win-now move, a short-term move, but very clearly the Magic identified this is a weakness that we have. This is something we need to address. This is something we need to be better at. We're going to get the best version of what we need out there. And they did. And they got that version. And again, like I talked about this yesterday, this is about the story of the league. This is about the story that the league wants to tell. And again, the story to some extent that the video game wants to tell. It is trying to sell stuff too. The story they're trying to tell is Desmond Bane is going to be made a better 3-point shooter by the Orlando Magic. And so I expect the Magic, maybe not the greatest team, not the team everyone's going to pick, but a team that's going to be a lot of fun to play in the video game and a lot of fun to watch on the court when we get there. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himmel, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me here on the Locked On Magic podcast, making it your first listen today, go check out the Locked On NBA podcast because there is no offseason. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, barring breaking news, because we're going to start getting some schedule stuff here very, very shortly. We'll get a sneak peek at the schedule on Tuesday. There's an announcement down in Miami that we're going to be keeping an eye on as well. We'll get the full schedule on Thursday. That'll be Friday's episode, will be our schedule breakdown episode. But on our next episode of Locked On Magic, we'll chat about Jalen Suggs and the impact he can make, the quiet impact, the reason why he might be the answer to the Magic shooting problems as well. So we'll rehash all the shooting stuff. We'll get to that tomorrow. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman. We'll see you again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.